Right, there we go. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. I see all familiar faces, so hi to everyone. As you all know, but I'm going to introduce myself anyway because we are recording this for people who can't be with us tonight, and some people might be new. But my name's Emily. I'm a registered dietitian and health coach, and I'll have Mackenzie introduce herself as well.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mackenzie Watts, and I am a certified life coach, and I focus on life purpose and mindset reshifts.
Awesome. So yeah, this is session 2 of our summer wellness series. And like we said in session 1, we're switching off back and forth each week. So Mackenzie started off with mindset last week, and now we're going to do some nutrition today. So thank you all so much for being here. It's going to be fun. It's going to go by fast like they always do. And like I said, last session, gave a little teaser. This session, we're going to be talking about the hunger and fullness scale, which is something that I love talking about. I think it's such a helpful tool for all people, no matter what our goals are, where we currently are nutritionally. It's just something that's really, really helpful. So I'm excited to get into it. So this is our second session. So what you can expect from here on out, what we're going to do is we start these sessions by talking about our commitment from last week. So if you have a pen and some paper or just something to write something down on, we'll have some more reflection questions on how's the past week gone with commitments, what went well, what maybe didn't go so well. And this is how we have some accountability from session to session, because we're going to be committing to different things throughout the series. So we'll start off by doing that. Then we're going to get into our topic this week, have some time for more reflection, some Q&A if anyone has any questions on the hunger fullness scale or just anything nutrition related. I'm here for you for that. And then at the end, we're going to wrap up by making a new commitment, either based on what we talk about today or anything on your list that you made prior to the series. So yeah, let's get into it. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So like I said, we're starting off by thinking back on our commitments. And if you didn't make a commitment last week, that's okay. Just expect that next time you will make another commitment and we will ask you these questions again. So first question to reflect on: how did your commitment go this past week? And these next 2 questions are kind of related, so I'll put them up. What went well and what could you improve on? Then whenever you're ready, the last question is, do you want to keep with your same commitment? Do you want to adjust it? Or do you want to change it in any way? Keeping in mind, each week we'll be adding on another commitment on top. And we want these to all be very realistic and, make you feel good, make you feel like it's something that, yeah, I can do this. So if you found that maybe this one last week was a little much, how can you adjust it and change it to make it a little more realistic? Or if it was super easy, do you want to challenge yourself a little bit more? All right, so as we are finishing up, I'm just gonna stop share so I can see everyone. Does anyone want to share anything that came up for them with their commitment this past week? Maybe something that went well for you, what your commitment was, anything at all. We always love hearing from you. You can either type in the chat, come off mute, and let us know.
Yeah, my commitment was to minimize drinking, and like I was being a little non-committal in the sense that I didn't want to say like no drinking at all or when exactly. So I think to improve upon that, it's like I want to be a little more intentional about, okay, drinking only on the weekend with intention. Like there's got to, like, I want it to be like ask myself, why do I want this? And, is this what I need? Or is this like a filler for something else that I need instead? But I did partway through the last week, I was kind of like, you know what, it's going to be weekend only. And then I stuck with that. I only had a drink on the weekend, and then I didn't drink all week. But I didn't realize how much I like with dinner, I'd be like, okay, like I found myself like wanting to grab a drink and be like, oh, wow, like this was like a very like mindless decision that I'd been making previously, that it was just like it's like, oh, wow, I don't realize how easy this was in the past and why I was doing this. So I want to be more intentional about that.
I love that. And it's really building upon the success you've already had, which is noticing these when it's during the week and saying it's just going to be on the weekend, and now building on top of that and saying, well, now I want to be intentional and ask why. I think that's really good. And it can help to put some parameters around it to even be able to answer these questions and know whether, hey, what did it go well? Did it not go well? It can be easier if we have those parameters. Really good. Mackenzie, I did the same goal last week, Rachel. Decided to totally go without it this coming week based off my findings. Good for you, Mackenzie. I love that. I love it. All right. Does anyone else want to share or add anything?
I did for mine, being intentional with the amount of the sweets that I'm eating while still giving myself access. I like to buy the chocolate peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's, and I feel like I get into situations where I'm like, I'm not going to eat it, like not giving myself access. So then when I do eat them in the past, I like just will eat so many. And so my box lasted like many days, which is very unusual from the last week. So that was exciting because it was nice to tell myself like, I can grab, however many I want. And like, that will be kind of the number that I have, which that I need to be a little bit more consistent with. But in doing that and like actually giving myself access versus the restricting that access changed my mentality toward actually having it. And so then I'm like, okay, I'm good. I mean, I could grab some more if I wanted to. But usually I like felt satisfied enough to just kind of keep going.
Wow, that's huge. And to have that mindset shift in just a week, amazing. Is this something you want to continue with?
Mm-hmm, yeah, I'm picking to continue. And then there were definitely times where I still was like, I'm going to go back and grab some more. So I think kind of picking from the beginning, like how many do I want to start? And then just that being it for the sitting, be a little better about that. But yeah, that was like a surprise to kind of see giving myself access actually made the like amount last longer.
Oh, that's huge. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think what we talk about today will help you with we're building upon the success you've already had, just like Rachel is. And I think that what we talk about today will help. So awesome. I'm going to start sharing again because we're going to get into our main topic today. And if anyone ever has questions, just come off mute, type them in the chat, but I'll definitely be pausing for questions and feedback and thoughts and all of that. But let's get into the hunger and fullness scale. So I don't know if anyone has seen this before or heard about this, but this is something that is used a lot in intuitive eating, mindful eating, and I find it's just extremely, extremely helpful. So I'm going to start by just explaining how to read this scale and what it actually means. So when you look towards the smaller numbers, those are the hunger numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the more you go to the left, the more hungry you are. So number 1 is dizzy, nauseous, shaky. It's about as hungry as you get before you pass out. And then you move up the numbers, and we'll get to what the zone means. But as you get to the higher numbers, those are fullness. So, there's slightly uncomfortable fullness all the way up to a 10, which is feeling physically sick from being full. So these are all, first off, it's really nice to see these things that we feel and to put numbers to them so that it's on a scale, it's something that we can quantify instead of it just being a feeling. So what we want to do is most of the time being within that green box, within that zone, whether we are hungry or full. And we want to do that because if we get too hungry, I'm sure we've all been there, right? You're too hungry and you maybe get home from being out running errands and you're just eating everything in sight. And that makes sense. That's biology. That's your body telling you, I need food right now. So whatever is easiest, we're going to eat as much of it as possible. We want to avoid that. But we also, I'm sure we've all been in the 7, 8, 9, 10, super full before. And that's not comfortable either. We want to avoid that. So trying to stay within the zone, and this scale can help us do that. So what I mean by staying within the zone is periodically throughout the day, take a minute to just pause and ask yourself, where am I on this scale, especially before sitting down for a meal? If you are anywhere between a 3 and a 4, it's time to eat, even if it's not mealtime, right? If you're getting that first sign of hunger and you know you're not going to eat again for 3 hours, it's time to eat something, because within 3 hours, you're going to get below a 3, and we don't want that. So that's how to know when you're hungry, when it's time to eat. But then how this can also be used is as you're eating, it can be helpful to check in, and after you're done eating, before you go for seconds, can be helpful to check in on the scale and think, okay, where am I right now? And I always at this point pause and say, unfortunately, our brain and our stomach aren't on the same page when it comes to fullness. It takes about 20 minutes for our brain and stomach to sync up and for our brain to tell us that, yes, we're actually full. So that's why I always encourage, before you decide, okay, I've eaten this plate, before you decide, okay, I'm going to go back and get more, check in and give yourself some time by eating slowly, maybe, have a couple sips of water, give yourself some time, and then check in and say, where am I on this scale? Am I still hungry? If you're still hungry, eat more, right? Your hunger is your body talking to you, trying to tell you something, saying it's time to eat. And that's totally fine. So it's okay to eat more. It's actually encouraged. If you're at a meal, you're still hungry, eat more. If you find that you're at a 5, so you're at physically full, and this surprises some people, I always encourage people to get to a 6 whenever possible. So it's okay to be physically full, but I want us to get to a 6, to satisfied, whenever we can. And that's because I don't know about you guys, but I in the past have eaten until I'm physically full. I stopped myself, but I wanted a little bit more. I wanted one more roll, or I wanted, another serving of chicken or whatever it is. And then I'm physically full, but then I walk away, and about an hour later that I'm still not satisfied. So I'm back in the kitchen eating whatever I can find. And we want to avoid that. So it is okay and encouraged to get to a 6 and be satisfied, because overall, if we're satisfied after eating a meal, we are less likely to be mindlessly snacking throughout the rest of the day or between meals or the rest of the night. So kind of surprising, I am telling people eat a little bit past physical fullness if you don't feel totally satisfied. That's okay. We don't want to get to a 7, 8, 9, all of that, but you really want to be satisfied at the end of the meal and to be able to sit there and say, yeah, I feel good. I feel like this was a good move for me. So now I'm going to pause and first ask, does anyone have any questions about the hunger fullness scale?
I just want to be clear that I understand the difference between physically full and satisfied is that after you give yourself some time, like you realize that like you no longer have like the hunger pains, but satisfied being like, oh, I really like wanted a little bit more of that whatever side dish to feel like happy with the meal.
Yes, absolutely. So it's definitely giving yourself that time, because sometimes it passes and sometimes you realize, oh, I'm actually fuller than I was and I don't want any more food. But yeah, if you've given yourself the time and you check in and you're like, no, I'm not experiencing hunger, but something's missing. That's where, it kind of goes beyond fueling the body and it's kind of, fueling the soul. And that's okay, because right after a meal, there is the time where you're most likely to stick to an amount that's not, the mindless eating amount, because you've just eaten, you had, probably a pretty balanced meal. If eating a little bit more there is going to get you to satisfied, then that's much better than eating a whole bunch more an hour later because you just weren't quite satisfied. So this is playing on the mindfulness of eating, not just the strict nutrition and food side of eating. And it can really help people get out of the snacking between meals, snacking throughout the day. So yeah, good clarification question. All right, so now this is something you can write it down or just think about it. And I'm curious for everyone, if you think about before eating, typically before eating, where are you on the scale most of the time? And you don't have to share, but just kind of look at the scale and think in your mind, yeah, before I eat, do you let yourself get to the point where you're irritable and have a headache? Do you eat, do you wait till you have the growling stomach? Think about that. And then think about after eating, where are you typically? Do you feel that you're satisfied? Or after most times of eating, do you feel that you're more at a, 7, 8 or above? And then lastly, and this could be a good one to write down since we all have something in front of us, but how might this hunger and fullness scale be helpful for you? How could you use this in your day-to-day life? And I don't mean by, printing it out and putting it in front of you every single time you eat, but if it's just on your mind, if it's in your head, how might this scale be helpful? So I'll give you a few minutes to answer that. And then if anyone wants to share, I always love to hear your thoughts on how things like this might be helpful. All right, so as we're finishing up, does anyone have any thoughts on this scale and what it might look like to use it, or how your life might be different if you never got to a 6 or above, or if you never let yourself get super hungry? What are your guys' thoughts?
I A lot of times I end up in that shaky zone. And then, like you were saying, I just am opening up every cabinet in my house to be like, okay, what's quick and convenient. And the next thing I know, I'm like uncomfortably full of all this junk that I didn't actually want. But now that I have this clear head, I'm like regretting that. So knowing that when I get that shaky feeling, it's like, it's not that it's time to eat, but that you've waited way too long and I need to avoid that feeling, because then I know what's coming. And I'm trying to be more mindful in general, but I think forcing myself to ask, okay, are we at a 3, a 4, or if I feel that shaky, I know, nope, Rachel, you're at a 1, like, let's ease back into this so I don't end up at a 7 or 8 really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Has anyone else ever experienced that before? Just raise of hands. Yeah, I feel that that's when it can be, when we're eating super quickly because our body's just like, I need this right now. That's when we bump up that scale really fast. Because we're doing what our body wants us to do, but it's just gotten to the point where we're shaky. So it's whatever's around, I'm gonna eat that. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Okay, really good. So once again, we are going to make our commitments. So this is a nutrition week, but this is your series. So you can make a commitment on anything you want. It could be about the hunger and fullness scale. It could be another mindset commitment. Maybe you felt that last week you had a commitment that you just want to keep working on that one too. And you feel that adding something on top of this is going to be too much. That's totally fine. You can choose something from your initial list that you filled out, but whatever is speaking to you that you're thinking, yeah, if I worked on that this next week, that would be beneficial for me. Write that down. And just like last time, we loved it when everyone shared it in the chat. So I'll give you a little bit of time, but once you come up with your commitment for this week, if you feel comfortable sharing it in the chat, we would love to see that. And yeah, like I said, it can be anything. It could be nutrition, mindset related, whatever is speaking to you. And I do, like we talked about in the beginning today, I do always like to encourage people to put parameters around it if possible, numbers, make it pretty specific so that you know whether you hit it or not, right? So like I will check in on my hunger before every dinner, but we also want it to be realistic. So keep that in mind too. All right, I'm gonna read them out loud. Mackenzie's have snacks accessible, so when I receive the first sign of hunger, I can address it and avoid getting to the shaky point. Need in my bag when I work from coffee shops in the morning. Love that. Preparing, getting ahead of it. Gina, I'll use the scale to help guide the quantity when having sweets and giving myself access to dessert. That's awesome. Building, that's what this is all about. Jordan, same as last week, I'll think about my intentional eating. Perfect, so good. Rachel, keep my kitchen stocked with healthy and filling snacks. So when my stomach growls and I know I have something available. That's super important with this whole mindset piece as well, is if our brain doesn't think that food's available, then it gets into this, scarcity mindset. It's like, oh, well, I'll just get something really quick, whatever that is. So yeah, that preparation's huge. And then Julianne, I commit to checking in with myself before eating. Where am I on the scale? And then not eating as quickly so I can also check in with myself to get to a 6. So good. Oh, I always love your commitments. And I'm excited that we get to check in again every week and see how they go. But it's one thing to make the commitment, but just like Mackenzie always asks, what do you need to do to hold yourself accountable? What if whatever you did last week worked for you? great. If you need something to keep it top of mind, a Post-it can be helpful. A reminder or an alarm on your phone can be helpful. I also wanted to share this habit tracker that I created. I just put it in the chat. It's for 5 weeks, but you could use it week by week and change the nutrition. It says nutrition habit. It could be any habit, but change what you put at the top. So if you're someone who likes checking boxes, then download this, print this out. That could be really helpful. But whatever you need to hold yourself accountable to doing this and sticking with your commitment. And then it's always good to also ask ourselves, do I see anything getting in the way? Like whatever your commitment was, when might it not happen? And what could you do to make sure that it does happen? And that's, tied to accountability, but I'll give everyone just a minute to think on that so that we're prepared for whatever comes our way this next week. All right, so I'm going to stop the share here. Does anyone have any questions about what we talked about today? Questions for Mackenzie about what we talked about last week, or just questions in general? Anything at all? I think we're good. Okay. Well, this is always such a blast for us, and it's so good to see all of your faces. Thank you so much for being here. Next week, same time, same day, Mackenzie's going to be doing a mindset session. I will be traveling, so I won't be there, but I'll be here the last week. So I'll miss you all. I'm going to watch the recording so I know how everyone's commitments went. And yeah, before we go, Mackenzie and I just wanted to share with you all. We know that some people in their applications for this series mentioned they might be interested in group coaching. And we just set a date for our next group coaching opportunity, which is going to be August 22nd. Our group coaching, it's called Balanced Mind, Balanced Body. And we absolutely love it. We have so much fun, and it's 8 weeks long. And we're taking 6 people this year. And we just wanted to let you all know first, because honestly, you guys are the ones putting in the work. We know that you are committed to your health, to your mindset, to your well-being, and that you would be, if this feels like a great fit for you, we think that this would be a really great opportunity. So more info on that to come, but we just wanted to let you all know that this is an option. It's pretty much just what we're doing here in our series, but there's more daily accountability, there's one-on-one coaching, more sessions, all of that stuff. So if you're interested in learning more, let us know. Just email either Mackenzie or I. I also have a link right here to learn more, to apply if it feels right for you. And as a little added bonus for people in this group, if you sign up before August 7th, you'll get a free hour-long session, one-on-one, well, 2-on-1, Mackenzie and I and you, just a coaching session, one-on-one. It's valued at $300, so it's a pretty good deal there. But yeah, just wanted to let you guys know that that is coming up. If you're interested, we'll share more info throughout the series, but yeah, that is all we have. So thank you all so much for being here today. We'll see you next week, and please do reach out with any questions between now and next Wednesday.
Good to see you guys. Have an awesome week.
Yeah, good to see you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.